Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. Hot topics, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I want to start with something that's going to be very helpful for you, especially now during the football season, because a lot of people are going to be out and about and they're going to be doing their fun things, okay? So let me tell you about something that's going to be a game changer for you. It's a game changer for me. Support for the show comes from ZBiotics. You don't have to tell you about this product that I use before a night out with drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. ZBiotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle those rough mornings after drinking. So here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol converts into a toxic byproduct in your gut. That buildup, it's not dehydration. That's what causes those rough mornings. So pre-alcohol creates an enzyme that will help break that down so you can wake up feeling fresh and at your best. I first tried it. You guys know, I told you about it when I first tried it and they became a sponsor. Tried it for a dinner party. It was a friend's birthday party. Couple glasses of wine, and the next morning I was sharp, energized, and ready to do this very show. So fall means games, tailgates, celebrations. So before you raise that glass, make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Go to zbiotics.com/lemon. Use the code LEMON for 15% off of your first order. It's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. zbiotics.com/Don Lemon. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm going to get right to it because we have a very special guest. As you know, we are into a week of the shutdown. And it is, I believe it's 6 days, maybe 7 days. And Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries serves in New York's 8th Congressional District and helms the House Democratic Caucus. He is here with us this morning. Good morning, Leader Jeffries.
Good morning, Don. Great to be with you.
Look, we are honored to have you on this morning. Thank you so much. Is this day 7?
It's day 7.
Day
7 of Donald Trump's shutdown, day 262 of the chaos that the Trump administration has been visiting on the American people since January 20th.
Is there any movement whatsoever to reopen or any negotiations? Anyone, are they moving in your direction? Have the president and the Speaker of the House even reached out about restarting negotiations?
You know, there's been no outreach from the president, from the vice president, from Mike Johnson, from John Thune, from any Republicans on the Hill directly. They basically have gone radio silent ever since the Oval Office meeting that took place last Monday. In fact, their behavior has been unserious since that point, including the president trying to flood the zone with deep fake videos, make threats, canceling projects, threatening us. But Democrats aren't backing down because we're standing up for the healthcare of the American people. At the same time, we've repeatedly said we'll sit down with anyone, anytime, any place in order to reopen the government, to pass a spending bill that actually makes life better for the American people, and of course, to address the Republican healthcare crisis that's devastating people all across America.
So why won't they do it? What's their excuse, Leader?
You know, it's interesting because they talk a big game, but then there's no willingness to actually sit down and have a discussion in good faith to try to find the common ground necessary. I think they know their position is indefensible. Basically, Don, I think they wanted to shut the government down, and they thought that Democrats would then back down. But we've made clear, this is a devastating healthcare crisis that they've inflicted on the American people. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers all across the country are closing down because of what Republicans have done in their one big ugly bill. They've triggered a possible cut to Medicare of $536 billion if Congress doesn't act by the end of the year. And of course, given their refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles for their health care. That's going to bankrupt some people or deprive them of the insurance they need for themselves, their children, and their families.
Leader Jeffries, I want to play something. This is from your Republican counterpart yesterday, Speaker Mike Johnson, saying that House Republicans, in fact, that Republicans are the Republican Party is a party that cares about health care. Let me play the clip and then I'll get your response. Here it is.
So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on health care. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly, Republicans are the ones concerned about health care. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix health care. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the one big beautiful bill, the working families tax cut, was to fix health care. Healthcare is broken in America. It's too expensive. The quality of care needs to rise. We need more access for more people, and we have lots of ideas to do that. But that issue is for debate in the next 3 months. It always was. We have members working on that.
What do you say to that? This is my thing. I don't hear so much, Leader Jeffries, of them talking about, this is about transgender people, or this is about giving, Cadillac. I don't hear. I think you guys have pushed them into forced them into having to have a discussion about healthcare, and that's an uncomfortable spot for them.
I think that's absolutely correct, Don. Initially, they came out of the gate lying to the American people, as they always do, trying to actually make this about something that it's not about. It's about the health care of the American people, and the fact that Republicans have launched this devastating attack that has impacted people in rural America, working class America, urban America, Black and brown communities all across America, small town America, and the heartland of America. And Mike Johnson, it's interesting to me, he says there's time to deal with the healthcare crisis that they've created when the Affordable Care Act tax credits and their unwillingness to extend them. The open enrollment period starts in a few weeks, and notices are going out right now to tens of millions of people, including many of your listeners, indicating that your healthcare costs are getting ready to go up dramatically in an environment where the cost of living is already too high. Donald Trump and the frauds connected to him, they promised to lower the high cost of living on day one. But we know costs aren't going down, they're going up. Electricity bills through the roof, rent through the roof, housing costs out of control, grocery prices too high. And now they want to jam these massive healthcare premium increases down the throats of the American people. And it's just not acceptable. And Democrats have made that clear.
This is the president commenting on the state of the shutdown yesterday. And to me, it's pretty incomprehensible. I want to know what you think. Here's the president in the Oval Office.
Shutdown, Mr. President, if the vote today fails in the Senate, will that trigger layoffs?
It could. At some point it will. And, the Democrats are the ones that started this. And if you think about it, it's about health care to a large extent. It's about, we want great health care for people. We don't want to give the money away to other people that come pouring into our country. And they've already poured, because nobody's coming into our country. Now we have the border totally stopped. In fact, numbers we just announced again, we're at another zero. So we have zero for 4 months in a row. Zero people coming into our country illegally. That's a pretty good number. I'm not sure even I can believe that, Doug, if you want to know the truth. Zero. We went from millions of people to zero, but it's pretty close to that number. And the way you stop them is not to give away, not to announce that you're giving everybody free health care, free this and that. But what that does is it affects the American people, because the American people are unable to get good health care. Obamacare has been a wreck, as you know, and to do that, we have to keep it propped up and do the best you can with it. It's a mess. But a lot of things are going on in that. We talk about Hamas, then we talk about negotiations that we have going on right now. We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things.
What kind of
and I'm talking about good things with regard to health care.
Are you speaking with Democratic leaders? What kind of negotiations?
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. But we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care.
What is he talking about?
That's a good question. I have no idea, because I've gotten no outreach from the White House since the meeting, notwithstanding the fact that we repeatedly have said, and I'm not hard to find, here in Washington all week, last week, and we'll continue to be in Washington, to reopen the government so we can stand by our hardworking federal public servants. But we need to actually enter into a spending agreement that helps the American people, as opposed to hurting the American people. What we've seen from the Trump administration and Republicans on the Hill is that they're practicing what I would call legislative insanity. They have now tried to pass the same partisan Republican spending bill that guts the health care of the American people 5 times. And it's been rejected 5 times, because Democrats in the House and Democrats in the Senate, led by Chuck Schumer, are holding the line. Yet they continue to bring this bill to the floor. It's the classic definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Now, it's interesting that they now acknowledge that healthcare is a serious issue. You know, in that White House meeting, Speaker Johnson said, it's extraneous. I said, healthcare is extraneous. Excuse me. It's not extraneous. It's central to the well-being of the American people, particularly as it relates to trying to deal with the cost of living crisis that Republicans have made worse in this country.
I want to put this up that I saw. Dear Speaker Johnson, it says, I write to challenge you to a debate on the floor of the House of Representatives any day this week in primetime broadcast live to the American people. And then you go on, you're challenging him, and it's signed Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader. No response to that, to your challenge to debate. That's pretty good. I would like to see that.
And maybe we can get you to be the moderator, Don. He has not responded formally. He has, I think, at his press conference yesterday, indicated that that's theatrics. Really? Theatrics? They refuse to sit down to negotiate privately. They can't defend their position privately. And so my point was, defend your position publicly. We will. We're ready to do it. We're standing on the side of the American people. Our view is pretty simple. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save healthcare. Their initial position was they're just lying to the American people, and we've dismissed that reality because this is not about trying to provide healthcare to undocumented immigrants because the law prohibits that. And that's been pointed out repeatedly. And so I don't get, it's very interesting to me. You know, Republicans canceled votes this week in the House after canceling votes last week. Democrats are on Capitol Hill on duty. Republicans are on vacation. This is crazy. We're in a shutdown and they are on vacation all across the country and the world. So the least that they could do, Don, in my view, is that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, defend your position on the floor. And then the American people can understand what this shutdown is all about and what the Republican refusal to address the healthcare crisis that they've created is all about.
So just real quickly before, no progress. You have not heard from them. They're on vacation and we're just waiting right now. People, I don't know if you're looking in the comments, people are like, we stand with Jeffries. Don't back down this time. Democrats toe the line, hold the line. Are you going to back down?
Well, I think what Donald Trump and the Republicans have encountered is Brooklyn Hakeem. So the reality is we are, of course, going to hold the line, by the way, as House Democrats did in March. And as Democrats did in the House and the Senate against the one big ugly bill, which, let's remember, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. This is what Republicans did. Then they ripped food out of the mouths of children, families, and seniors in order to reward their billionaire donors with massive permanent tax breaks. The Democratic position is, okay, if you can pass tax breaks for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected to subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless, your donors, Republican donors, you're trying to tell us that we can't extend Affordable Care Act tax credits to benefit working class Americans, everyday Americans, middle class Americans, black and brown Americans all across the country? That's why they're running scared. They want to defend that position because it's indefensible what they're doing.
Well, if you look at the polls, the latest poll, CBS YouGov poll found that 39% of respondents believe that Trump and congressional Republicans deserve most of the blame for the shutdown. 30% that blame Democrats. I went out and I spoke to people on the streets of New York on Sunday night, and every single person said that it was the Republicans' fault. I want to move in. I want to talk about what's happening in Portland and Chicago and on the streets of some cities here in the United States. Some of them have been really quite frightening. I just want to play this mash that my team found, and I want to get you to respond to it. Leader, here it is.
not doing anything. You're saying that.
Oh my God. So, leader, you see police officers being tear gassed by the so-called federal agents that are out there. You see citizens being roughed up. There's no due process. They won't even show warrants. What is going on here? We slid into fascism?
Yeah, you know, the Department of Homeland Security is out of control. The so-called Secretary of Homeland Security out of control, and unleashing these masked ICE agents in such an extreme fashion on the American people and on law-abiding immigrant communities is totally out of control, which is why the American people are rejecting it. And so we're going to continue to stand by the law-abiding people in Portland, in Chicago, in Washington, D.C., and in other parts of the country in the face of what is being unleashed on them by our own government. And the American people know local law enforcement should be supported, but they don't want to see American military troops occupying American cities or towns or counties. I'm thankful that we've seen the governor of Oregon and the governor of Illinois stand very strong against the actions of the Trump administration, and we will continue to support them every day, every week, every month until this type of tyranny ends.
You know what occurred to me is that would you ever consider, for example, using the government shutdown negotiation to demand that ICE agents stop going into communities with masks on, terrifying families and children?
Well, one of the things that I think we definitely need to do is hold the extremism of the Trump administration accountable. Now, this particular fight has been about healthcare, but it's also about all of the things, because what we've seen from the beginning of this administration is the unleashing of an extraordinary attack on the economy, attack on healthcare, attack on nutritional assistance, attack on the rule of law, attack on law-abiding immigrant communities, attack on civil rights and voting rights, on the American way of life, and on democracy itself. And so I think we're in a more is more environment, and we just have to continue to stand up, do more, push back aggressively in defense of the American people and the American way of life. And that's what you can expect from House Democrats and Senate Democrats as we move forward.
Yesterday, I spoke with Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva from Arizona. She came to Washington this week expecting to be officially sworn in by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Why has he not done so? He's declared this, I believe, an official work week, I think, this week or next week. Is it just because she plans to vote for the release of the Epstein files? What is this all about?
Yeah, that's our view at the moment. There's no rational reason why Representative-elect Grijalva has not been sworn in. There was what we call a pro forma session on the floor of the House of Representatives yesterday. Republicans this year have been sworn in as members of Congress in those pro forma sessions, but Republicans refused our demand to do so yesterday. We're going to continue to make that demand. It appears that because Representative-elect Grijalva has promised that she's going to be the 218th signature on what we call a discharge petition that will force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. And we know from the beginning that House Republicans, along with Donald Trump and the administration, despite promising to release the Epstein files, have done everything to cover it up. Mm-hmm. And so in addition to not being able to justify and defend their position related to the Republican Trump shutdown of the government, being unable to defend their position on ripping healthcare away from the American people, being unable to defend their position on providing massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, they, of course, are unable to defend their position with respect to hiding the Epstein files, which is why they have denied seating Representative-elect Grijalva. But we're going to stay on the case until she is sworn in as a member of Congress. And then those Epstein files and that legislation is going to get an up or down vote on the House, and it's going to pass.
What do you say? There was someone who was just on who said, "Please help us, sir. I'm afraid to leave my house." It was just a comment up on the screen. What do you say to that person? Because they're looking for you guys, the Democrats, to do something about this.
Yeah, no, listen, without question. And there's a lot of pain throughout communities across the country because of what has been unleashed, the extremism that has been unleashed from day one, this parade of horribles that continues from the Trump administration. And it's an all hands on deck effort. And we've got to continue to battle them and push back aggressively in the Congress. We have to do the same thing in the courts, and we have to do the same thing in terms of the people, public sentiment. You know, it was said, Don, at the beginning of the country, that when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there is liberty. And if liberty is going to prevail, we need the people to make their voices heard, as folks have been doing all across the country. And we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with the American people.
My final question to you is that I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if you have any reflections on you might have on the second anniversary of October 7th.
Yeah, it was a painful day. Of course, that will never be forgotten. More than 1,200 Israeli and American citizens were killed, hundreds kidnapped. I'll be meeting with several hostage families later on today, and in fact, some hostages who are now free, and we're thankful for that. We also need to continue to push aggressively to get a ceasefire back in place. Donald Trump inherited a ceasefire, and then that was broken in a matter of weeks. We need to make sure that every single remaining hostage, as well as the remains of those who have been killed that are still in Gaza, are returned. And we have to surge humanitarian assistance into Gaza so we can provide decisive and comprehensive relief to Palestinian civilians who are in harm's way. We got to end the devastation. We need a path toward a just and lasting peace, and we will continue to support those efforts.
Leader Jeffries, I thank you for your time and thank you for respecting and supporting independent media. It's really important to us and to the folks out there who are watching us. They're over corporate media. You can do all the cable interviews you want, but you know, folks love you here.
It's great to be with you, and shout out to all the lemon heads.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you so much. So look, there you go. I think that the Democrats have done, I have to be honest in this, I think they've done a really good job of holding the Republicans, at least pushing them to talk about healthcare, because before, you know, it was about everything but. It was about everything but the healthcare. It's, you know, well, in any legitimate terms, healthcare in the sense of, well, Democrats want to give Cadillac insurance to undocumented immigrants, or as they called them, illegal immigrants. None of that was true. Or that this is about transgender, somehow athletes. None of that's true, or just transgender as well. None of that's true as well. So there you go. You heard from him on this anniversary of October 7th. I'm going to tell you what's happening in the country, especially these outrageous things that are happening on the streets of America. On the streets of America. Okay? First, Andy, do you have the sponsors or do I have to do it?
Nope, I got them.
Andy coming through in a clutch. First, 2 minutes, a word from our sponsors. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Let's talk facts, because all across America, politicians are pushing religion into public schools, posting the 10 Commandments in classrooms, hiring chaplains with no clinical training, and diverting public funds to private religious schools that often exclude LGBTQ students and non-Christians. But Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting back. In a recent victory, a federal court blocked a Texas law that required every classroom to display the 10 Commandments. They defend the First Amendment in court and Congress and in classrooms to protect students from religious coercion and keep public education truly public. Learn more at ffrf.org/school or text DON, that's DON, to 511-511. Don't let your rights be rewritten. Go to ffrf.org/school or text DON, DON, to 511-511. Text fees may apply. This episode of the Don Lemon Show is brought to you by Graza. Look, my olive oil of choice is Graza, all right? Everyone knows I love to cook for my friends, for my family, and, you know, what's taken my food to the next level is Graza's extra virgin olive oil. Fresh, simple, delicious, and an everyday price. That is the surprising part. Here's what makes it special, though. They pick, press, and bottle all their olives in the same season, and you can see the harvest date. It's right on the bottle. They've got two different options: sizzle for cooking, drizzle for finishing. I use sizzle when I'm sauteing or roasting, and drizzle when I want to finish something special, even over ice cream or even in a martini. Yeah, trust me, it works. And right now, Graza's annual site-wide sale is on. Everything is 20.74% off, 20.74% off through October 21st. No code needed. So stock up today. Take your food to the next level. Visit Graza, Graza.co. That's Graza, Graza.co. So thank you to all of our sponsors. You know what's interesting is like 24.7. That's an interesting, come on, you must admit that that's an interesting percentage to have off. Graza, all right. Anyways, it's delicious, and I would not steer you wrong. So let's get back to the program. I want to know what you guys are feeling. And also, I want to know what you think about what Hakeem Jeffries said. He's saying that they are not caving, that they are, this time, that Democrats are going to hold the line. And those are his words. We are going to hold the line right now. And they believe that they have Republicans backed into a corner. Now, look, this is an issue, especially as it relates to Americans and healthcare. This is an issue because people have to be able to afford to pay their bills. They have to have a paycheck. And so some folks are not getting that right now. Let's just be honest, with the government shutting down. And then, you know, coming up soon, you're going to have open enrollment. What happens if those tax breaks for the Affordable Care Act? What happens, those tax credits, if they, or those healthcare credits, excuse me, if it goes up? Your premiums could go up by 75%. But also on the streets of America right now, chaos. You saw some of the video that I played for the leader, Jeffries. Here's more. This is a mash of Portland ice chaos. Here it is.
Get back! Back off! Back off!
Now, I want you to pause this right here. I want you to pause this right here. I want you to think about this, okay? Think about this as your family member. This could be your son, your nephew, your daughter, your grandmother, your dad. I want you to think about this in terms of someone in your family, someone you love. How would you feel about the actions that these people are taking? Roll it.
Get back! What? Get your hands on Get back! Get back! Stop advancing! Stop advancing! It wasn't me. I was just following orders. Get ready to start up on your page! You're a dumb. Is this who we're
So look, those are people who, some of them I'm sure are anarchists or whatever, but those are people who get out there and they fight against, the powers that be all the time. And you got to do something. I believe that you have to do something. At least they are standing up and fighting back. Some of the folks in Chicago are fighting back as well. We showed you this man yesterday who they were trying to detain him, and he refused to let them put handcuffs on him. And then his neighbors and people on the street just really shamed the agents into letting them let this man go. And then they drove off with their tails tucked between their legs. The reason I let that video play out is because as I am here, I'm at a conference in New York City. It's a conference called Black Week that talks about issues, especially advertising and what we do now in streaming in the digital era, because there is no system that is set up to create a sort of ecosystem that supports people who believe in facts, people who are centered and maybe left. There's plenty on the right and for people of color. And many of the people have not seen these images. They haven't seen them in corporate media. If they see them, it's just a report about, well, ICE is going to Chicago, ICE is going to Portland. Here's what the governor is suing the Trump administration, but they don't see all of these images because I'm being told that somehow the bosses are worried about these images coming out. Pam Bondi is testifying on ICE and the National Guard right now. Let's listen.
Not ready quite yet. 1 second.
Not yet? Okay. Anyway, we're going to get Pam Bondi, who is reporting, who is being questioned on that. And I mean, look, I want you to get ready because you know it's Pam Bondi. But I am surprised, people. I'm surprised. I told the folks here at the conference, I'm surprised that people are not out on the streets. You heard what I had to say yesterday. I'm surprised that people are not out on the streets right now. And where's the courage? And people are worried that, well, they're going to take me away. We have more liberties and more rights and more agency than the people who came before us. And I wonder why, what is going to take for us to fight back? So I showed you some of the images. This is Pam Bondi testifying.
What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I've been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
I appreciate what Dick Durbin said. He's too nice. He should have shut her ass down. Pam Bondi is a POS. Pam Bondi has no respect for the rule of law. She's dumb. She does anything that Donald Trump says. I would have said to her when she said, Donald Trump is working. Donald Trump is working and you're kissing his ass. Don't you have any shame for that? If she attacked him personally, I would have attacked her right back. As much as I hate Donald Trump, what about as much as you love Donald Trump and as much as you love kissing his ass? And so they think it's funny. And yes, Sarah Carter, she is a paid clown and a piece of shit. I can say it. Maybe Dick Durbin doesn't want to say it, but I certainly can say it. And then what this is all about now is, the trying to distract from that. What is in those files? Pam Bondi talking about the Epstein files.
In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
That's not what we heard. I wish we had that soundbite. If you can find that soundbite. But that's not what she said. The evidence is there. The evidence is always there. There's always a soundbite. And she is, look, as I said, she'll do anything she can to kiss Donald Trump's butt. I mean, she has to. She put her, someone who's unqualified, in this position to be the Attorney General of the United States. And so she sat there. There's a couple of different things. The Epstein client list is sitting on my desk right now to review. And then there was another one also where she was sitting on a desk. I believe it was at Fox News. She's answered a couple times for that. Do we have the soundbite of her saying on Fox News?
Yes.
Here it is.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
Not yet. Do you believe that? Do you think they went through the Epstein files and didn't go through all of it? Not yet. Here is Pam Bondi on exactly all the things that she said. So I knew that was in there, that she was misleading Dick Durbin, because this is her on Fox News talking about the Epstein files. Let me know when we have that, Andy.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet. I'll wait for Andy to get that. But this is her on Fox News talking about that. So, I mean, look, she's caught and she knows she's lying. So she has to get out there and spin. But as I say, the sound bites don't lie. Pam Bondi has been just like Kash Patel, just like Dan Bongino. They've been out here talking about these Epstein files forever. And somehow, this is going to be owned for Democrats. And then once they get them and maybe they see that their dear leader is in the Epstein files, then they reportedly move to have agents redact Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files. And now all of a sudden, they don't want to release any of it. This is what she said about it.
What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names. Everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children.
Sounds like what Dick Durbin said was very legit. And it sounds to me like she lied. It sounds to me like Pam Bondi lied. Now, you can tell me what you think. This is Pam Bondi on being asked by Senator Whitehouse. Do you know if the FBI found photographs of Trump with half-naked young women in their search of Epstein's safe or premises? Here's that questioning.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
She doesn't know anything about that. But you guys, oh my gosh, you got to be ready for someone like her. And it's like, this is not about me. This is about you and the person that you are trying to protect, which is Donald Trump, who's in the Epstein files. Are you saying that he's not in the files? Is he not in the files? My name is not in the Epstein files. And Donald Trump and you collect a lot of checks from a lot of people. As a matter of fact, Pam Bondi, you took a $25,000 check from Donald Trump when you were running in Florida, and you dropped a lawsuit that you had filed against him and the Trump organization, reportedly. Like, you got to be ready for her, because she's going to lie and obfuscate and pretend that she is haughty and holier than thou, when the question is about you, and you are the one. Ma'am, I have not seen the files. You have seen the files. I have you here. We have you here to talk about what's in the files, not to make ad hominem personal attacks on people. So can you just answer the question? If you don't have an answer for the question, then say, I don't have an answer. But don't lie and obfuscate and personally attack people to distract. You got to be ready for these folks. More after a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day. And this year, we're saying thank you, therapist. BetterHelp has helped more than 5 million people thanks to the therapists who show up and listen and help people move forward. Moments in therapy, a single question, a breakthrough, a safe space can change lives. If you ever had a therapist who made a difference, take a second to say thank you. And if you never tried therapy, maybe this is your sign. Over 30,000 licensed therapists. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. They're going to match you based on your needs. And if your first match isn't right, you can switch at any time. This World Mental Health Day, honor the people who make healing possible or start your own journey. Our listeners get 10% off for the first month at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. That's betterhelp.com/DonLemon. Support comes from Shopify. When I started this show, it was just an idea, a dream, and now it is a full-fledged business. Starting your own thing is possible, and Shopify makes it simple, okay? That's the sound you need. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, powering 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names to newcomers. We use it right here at the Don Lemon Show to bring you the merch that you love. You asked for it, you got it. So worried about design? Shopify has ready-made templates to match your brand style. If you need help writing product descriptions or managing email campaigns, their AI tools and their 24/7 customer support have you covered. So turn your dreams into with Shopify and sign up for a $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. Thanks to our sponsors. That was supposed to be a ka-ching, Andrew.
I forgot the last one.
Can you do the ka-ching now? No, you don't have that. Ka-ching. Anyways, we'll do it. We'll do a make good on that. There we go. On the ka-ching. Thank you. Here's Pam Bondi is testifying, as we have been reporting, in the front of the Senate on Epstein and everything that is in her purview. Here she is. Now, This is what Dick Durbin is asking her about on this one. Who gave the orders? Remember, I told you that should have been the question about his name being, Donald Trump's name being redacted from the files. Dick Durbin says on the Epstein files, who gave the orders to flag records related to President Trump, to flag any records which included his name? I bet she didn't have an answer for that one. Here it is.
Quarrel with you is to read somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Well, there you go. Now that's a feisty one. That is a feisty one. Wow. I really don't know what to say about this. I don't know what to say about this because, well, I do and I don't. Because here we are still arguing about the Epstein files after Donald Trump, wanted them released. He said, that's what he always said, but he never probably thought that it would actually happen. And Republicans wanted them released. MAGA folks wanted them released. This is the one thing I believe that can break Donald Trump's presidency and break MAGA. If it is found that Donald Trump did something really untoward, we don't know what's in the files because they won't tell us what's in the files. They won't release the Epstein files. I spoke with the Congresswoman-elect from Arizona yesterday, at Alita Grijalva, and she said that they won't swear her in, and she believes it's because of the Epstein files. And now Pam Bondi is obfuscating and attacking people and insulting people because she doesn't want to answer the questions. She's still speaking right now. That was Marsha Blackman. This is Mike Lee. Let's see what Mike Lee has to say.
As Attorney General of the United States, I want to start by thanking you for acknowledging a moment ago the importance of protecting the rights of the law-abiding. In a country where there are hundreds of millions of guns, one of the most alarming, not to mention unconstitutional things the government could do is to disarm the law-abiding. It would be unfair, it would be fatal to many, it would be contrary to our constitutional system. And I appreciate you standing up for that. I'm also grateful for you standing up for Gail Slater, the Assistant Attorney General over the Antitrust Division. I have full confidence in her, and I can tell you do as well. More broadly, Attorney General Bondi, through your leadership, you've returned the Department of Justice to its core mission. And its core mission, of course, involves protecting the American people, upholding the law, upholding the Constitution, and making sure that justice in our system is applied even-handedly, fairly, consistently, as the law requires, without fear, favor, or political bias making those decisions. With you as Attorney General at the helm of this great department, the Department of Justice has strengthened its efforts to secure our borders against what has been an unprecedented influx of illegal immigration. It's disrupted sophisticated networks of criminals, including people who profit immensely and have profited over the last 5 years, roughly, from a massive human trafficking and drug smuggling operation. And it also just demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the safety of American citizens. Your work has sent a clear message to criminal organizations and to criminally minded people everywhere, foreign and domestic. The rule of law in the United States will be enforced, and those who prey on the vulnerable will face especially swift and unpleasant consequences. I'd also like to commend you and FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino for your collaboration with state and local law enforcement in my home state of Utah in assisting with the prompt apprehension of the shooter in the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk just a few weeks ago at Utah.
Okay, apparently he does not have questions. I would like to let me know if he actually has a question instead of glazing Pam Bondi. I thought that maybe he, as a Republican, would have, some sort of, he is from Utah, which is where Charlie Kirk was killed, but there is no question there in those comments. Did he finally get to a question, guys?
And policies that we had is estimated in the previous in the many millions. Some would estimate it at the low end be in the 10 million range. Others say more like 15. Others say it's more than that. But this unknown and unknowable number of individuals came across our border illegally.
Okay, he doesn't have a question. What I don't understand the point of this. You're supposed to be getting questions. Why is he talking longer than Pam Bondi? Like, what is the point of this? Is the point to kiss Donald Trump's ass in the middle of these hearings? Do you think that's what he's doing? I believe that might be it. So let me just say this. I want to kind of wrap things up because, as I always talk about, I call you guys my brothers and my sisters and the people who still believe in truth. It has been 2 years since October 7th. I'm sure you guys know where you were when that happened. You know the fallout from that. It's 2 years since the world claimed that it learned something, and yet here we are. We're still negotiating peace with the same hands, the same people that profit from war. They're saying it's diplomacy right now, but when there are still bullets and bombs and all kinds of things still flying, and what does diploma even mean? Like you saw in the smoke, that pink smoke that you saw in Oregon, the white smoke that you see, and what does that mean? It's kind of just like a whisper in the smoke, right? With diplomacy. And then in Washington, D.C., they're calling it a shutdown, but I like to call it a shakedown. I think shakedown is closer to the truth. Maybe not a shutdown. Maybe it's a showdown between power and principle, between the people who work for a living and the people who work the system for a living. And you see how the narratives have changed from healthcare to illegals to now Republicans are the ones who care about healthcare. So this is the thing. Think about this. The lights are out in the federal buildings. The lights are going out in the federal buildings, right? Because they're shutting it down. It's shut down. The lights are still on in mansions in Palm Beach. The lights are still on in private jets. The lights are still on in, Silicon Valley. Look around. There are helicopters in our skies, a National Guard in our neighborhoods. There's markets are rising like nothing is wrong. People are just scrolling through their things. AI companies are eating the world up right now while real families can't afford to eat breakfast. You see the pattern here. You see it here. And we should learn from our history. Power has a way of pretending that it's in control, but as I told you yesterday, it is not. So I just want to tell you this morning that you can look. You gotta be able to stand up for something. You can't be quiet in this moment. Okay? Say enough is enough and figure out, get a game plan together. You can't just sit around and watch these programs or go on social media. You have to be willing to sacrifice something. I can't tell you what to do, but I'm going to do my part. So if you want to know anything about the show, you can go to donlemon.com and check us out. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know right there. Our main page is on YouTube. You can subscribe there. You can become a member. We appreciate it. Also, you can go there to find out where our merchandise is. And so I'm going to be back here at 5 p.m. Eastern. Until I see you then at 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel, I want you to do this. That is turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support.